appeal to force fallacy is a common logical fallacy that occurs when someone attempts to persuade another person by using threats or force rather than by presenting sound reasoning and evidence. This fallacy is often used in situations where the person making the argument lacks a strong logical basis for their position, and so they resort to intimidation or coercion in order to try and win the argument. The argumentum ad baculum is a form of fallacious reasoning that is widely recognized and studied in the field of logic and critical thinking. It is considered to be a serious error in reasoning because it is...
The argumentum ad baculum, also known as the appeal to force fallacy, is a common logical fallacy that occurs when someone attempts to persuade another person by using threats or force rather than by presenting sound reasoning and evidence. This fallacy is often used in situations where the person making the argument lacks a strong logical basis for their position, and so they resort to intimidation or coercion in order to try and win the argument. The argumentum ad baculum is a form of fallacious reasoning that is widely recognized and studied in the field of logic and critical thinking. It is considered to be a serious error in reasoning because it attempts to use force or the threat of force to coerce someone into accepting a particular point of view, rather than presenting a logical argument or providing evidence to support the position being advocated. One of the most common forms of the argumentum ad baculum is the use of threats or intimidation to try and convince someone to accept a particular point of view. For example, if someone is trying to persuade another person to agree with them on a political issue, they might threaten to harm them or their family if they do not comply. This is clearly a fallacious argument, as it relies on the use of force or the threat of force, rather than sound reasoning or evidence. Another common example of the argumentum ad baculum is the use of coercion or social pressure to try and persuade someone to accept a particular point of view. For example, if a group of people are trying to persuade someone to join their organization, they might use social pressure or peer pressure to try and make the person feel as though they have no choice but to comply. This is also a fallacious argument, as it relies on the use of coercion or social pressure rather than sound reasoning or evidence. It is important to recognize the argumentum ad baculum fallacy when it occurs, as it can be used in a wide variety of contexts and can be very effective in persuading people who are not familiar with logical fallacies. By understanding this fallacy, you can better evaluate arguments and avoid being persuaded by fallacious reasoning. To avoid making the argumentum ad baculum fallacy yourself, it is important to focus on presenting sound reasoning and evidence to support your position, rather than resorting to threats or coercion. This will not only help you avoid fallacious reasoning, but it will also make your arguments more persuasive and effective in the long run. In conclusion, the argumentum ad baculum fallacy is a common logical fallacy that occurs when someone attempts to use force or the threat of force to persuade someone to accept a particular point of view. By understanding this fallacy and avoiding it in your own arguments, you can become a more effective and persuasive communicator and avoid being swayed by fallacious reasoning in the arguments of others.
O thou, whose mighty palace roof doth hang from jagged trunks, and overshadoweth eternal whispers, glooms the birth, life, death of unseen flowers in heavy peacefulness, who loves to see the hamadryads dress their ruffled locks where meeting hazels darken, and through whole solemn hours dost sit and hearken the dreary melody of bedded reeds, in desolate places where dank moisture breeds the pipy hemlock to strange overgrowth, bethinking thee how melancholy loath thou wast to lose fair Syrinx. Do thou now by thy love's milky brow, by all the trembling mazes that she ran, hear us, great Pan. O thou, for whose soul-soothing quiet turtles passion their voices cooingly among myrtles, what time thou wanderest at eventide through sunny meadows that outskirt the side of thine enmossed realms, O thou, to whom broad-leaved fig trees even now foredoom their ripened fruitage, yellow-girted bees their golden honeycombs, our village lees, their fairest blossomed beans and poppied corn, the chuckling linnet its 5 young unborn, to sing for thee low creeping strawberries, their summer coolness, pent-up butterflies their freckled wings, yea, the fresh budding year, all its completions be quickly near, by every wind that nods the mountain pine, O forester divine, thou to whom every fawn and satyr flies for willing service, whether to surprise the squatted hare while in half-sleeping fit, or upward ragged precipices flit to save poor lambkins from the eagle's maw, or by mysterious enticement draw bewildered shepherd to their path again, or to tread breathless round the frothy main, and gather up all fancifullest shells for thee to tumble into naiads' cells, and being hidden, laugh at their out-peeping, or to delight thee with fantastic leaping, the while they pelt each other on the crown with silvery oak apples and fir cones brown. By all the echoes that about thee ring, hear us, O satyr king, O hearkener to the loud clapping shears, while ever and anon to his shorn peers a ram goes bleating, winder of the horn, when snouted wild boars routing tender corn anger our huntsmen, breather round our farms to keep off mildews and all weather harms. Strange ministrant of undescribed sounds that come a-swooning over hollow grounds and wither drearily on barren moors, dread opener of the mysterious doors leading to universal knowledge, see, great son of Dryope, the many that are come to pay their vows, with leaves about their brows, be still the unimaginable lodge for solitary thinkings, such as dodge conception to the very bourne of heaven, then leave the naked brain, be still the leaven, that spreading in this dull and clodded earth gives it a touch ethereal, a new birth, be still a symbol of immensity, a firmament reflected in a sea, an element filling the space between, an unknown, but no more. We humbly screen with uplift hands our foreheads, lowly bending, and giving out a shout most heaven-rending, conjure thee to receive our humble paean upon thy Mount Lycaean.
you.